No.
So, yeah, we do a live.
Careful.
I don't
I
know.
don't want to go on YouTube. Yeah,
YouTube. Okay.
there it goes.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide.
You are just locked and loaded over there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, and I was gonna bring you some cookies, but I forgot them.
Well,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
How are you?
And hoping maybe we could like bake them fresh.
Oh, there's the text from Jenny. She's on her way.
Yep. Got
All
it.
right,
The over under?
picking bets, 5:03, considering she doesn't come from that far away.
Well, we're not placing a bet, are we?
Why not?
I don't have any money.
Oh, none of us do. That's what Venmo's for. You said it straight up at 5. You said 503?
5:03.
I'll go 506.
Wow.
The video.
Oh, there you go.
It's the video.
Anybody else?
There you go. You're on now. I'm going, I'll be after you.
Okay, 7, 8?
Seven.
Okay.
I'm sure she's gonna try really hard.
I need to get there. There we go. So the recording is starting, just FYI.
All right, well, we will call to order the work session.
506. I already have that.
Okay.
Okay, not try.
509, she's
There you go.
9.
8 our way or something.
All right, call to order the work session for Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. There is no real roll call, so we will do the utility rate review. Take it away.
Take it away. Steve Donovan, 9600 Southwest Oak, 3335 Portland. I'm your rate consultant, and Nathan and Ann and Bob and John and everybody else, we've been working on this since, just after Christmas, and we wanted to get in front of you just as soon as possible. Talk about utility rates and where we're heading with this. We don't want any action tonight, but we are going to give you some ideas to think about, and we'd like to get some signs from the dugout from you, if we can. So, oh no, Devin. It's not.
Not on?
Okay, I'm done. Thank you, everybody.
Why did we not invite you back again? These are awesome.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you. So we'll talk about rate-making methodology, how we bake the cake, for lack of a better term. We're going to have a recommendation from you right out of the blocks.
Steve, I'll get to you after this item. I'm sorry, I forgot. Go ahead.
Okay. Talk about water in detail, and water is something that we're really going to want to focus on with you tonight. Well 10 is a big deal. Wastewater, stormwater. We've got charts of regional rates, so we'll let you know where your rates are relative to your competitive communities in the region. And then we're going to talk about the ask, the recommendation. And it's going to be important because you are now cycling into your budget cycle, which is going to start here real soon. And it'd be really nice to have these utilities lined out for you. So rate-making methodology, we put together 20-year forecast models for each utility. And they take into account your current operating budgets, your growth forecasts, the capital improvement plan, which is absolutely critical of how we're going to fund that, because some of this is going to have to be funded from rates. Cash flow, what goes in, what goes out. Debt management, you have existing debt in some of your funds. So here's the answer and here's the ask. Rather than trying to do this backwards, we're going to give you right up front. You currently pay for an average single-family customer here in Fairview, $91.78 a month. After this presentation, we're going to ask you to consider raising those overall rates to $100.08 a month or $8.30 a month, starting in fiscal 27. That's about a 9% general increase. Then we're going to ask you for about the same level of increase percentage-wise, but about $9.25 next year in 2028, and then we're going to come back down to basically inflation-based adjustments after that. And there's probably the first question you're going to ask is, why is 27 and 28 so high, and how can we bring the inflation down? And let's talk about that right now. You got any questions on what we're asking here? Okay, so,
May I say something?
Sure.
Interjection, just really quickly. I also invited John Niyama here in case you, as we get down the end of the presentation, any questions about how the data came together. John was a big part of that. The other thing I want to say, just really quickly, is that the purpose of this in our next presentation is to really look, and we'll discuss it more in the next presentation, but is to be able to look at how we can reset things and get them to where we're no longer doing all these huge jumps. That's it.
you bet. And let's just hop into it. Now on water, water is driving the bus here on those big increases, frankly. And what we're talking about here is well 10. And we've got, the first box is what's in our model? What is our starting point? And we've got inflation, generally speaking, over the 20-year forecast growing at around 3%. You're earning about 4% on your fund balances. And you've actually got money in the tank. So you've got dry powder of about 1.98 million in the water operating fund and another million in the SDC fund. We're going to gobble almost all of that up to make well 10 happen. So what we're talking about happening next then is well number 10 is going to cost $6.3 million. You've already approved a funding plan for that. We'll talk about that in a second. And we're also in the budget, we're continuing to invest in the system. Well, I've put in $50,000 a year for a basic system management, which is nothing. It's nothing, but we're kind of on a razor's edge here in terms of getting well 10 done. Once we get well 10 done, then we can start thinking about putting more money into the basic running day-to-day of the operation. And the other thing is we're going to request that you add 0.8 FTE to the water fund for an additional position. And we're going to ask for a total of 3 positions across all of your city, parks, transportation, water, sewer, and storm. The allocations, John did those, and he did a bang-up job on that. Of 0.8 of an FTE is going to go to water. That's an additional $86,000 a year fully loaded that we're going to ask starting on July 1, 2026. Now, the strategy for cash flow and rate funding. Well, number 10 has got a pretty diverse funding plan. And as you can see in that black box, 1.2 million from the Urban Renewal Agency, 1.3 million from SDCs. We're going to use up effectively all of your SDC balance, what we got coming in the door. The water utility is going to contribute another $1.1 million. You've got a $280,000 grant from Oregon Business, I believe. And then the loan, $2.5 million loan. That loan is going to turn into debt service, a 30-year loan at, I've forgotten the interest rate right now, I think it's 4% that I've got in there, $275,593 a year. That's new pain to the water system. That's going to be every year. So that's explaining a big reason for that jump in water. We're talking about the average 5-year annual increase on average is 7.6% per year for water, but the first 2 years are higher. And here's what we're talking about. We're talking about back-to-back, almost 15% per year rate increases in water to get well number 10 funded, to get that FTE funded, and to maintain inflation-based costs, and to maintain the system as it is. After that, we drop down to inflation-based adjustments. I would have loved to have said, we're going to do well number 10 in 2031. That way we could have done a stair-step function on the rates to get them up slower. But we're going to finish well number 10 here, John, end of this year? Next year? End of next year. So that debt service is going to start in 2028, and you're going to finish the well in 2027, and you're already digging holes on that project. So that's water. Let's talk about sewer. Sewer is another interesting kettle of fish here. You've got more money in sewer than you've got in water. You've got $3 million in the operating fund and about $1 million in the SDC fund. But the thing about sewer is 40% of all of the costs that you incur in the sewer system are for payments to Gresham for wastewater treatment services. Thank God you're not running a wastewater treatment plant. I think you're very well served by having Gresham doing your wastewater treatment for you, but it's growing at 7% per year. So that's something we can't avoid, and it's got to come directly from rates. So within the context of our planning for the priorities of the sewer system, we're going to fully fund operations and maintenance. We're putting another $50,000 into the budget every year for collection system operations and maintenance. Once again, that ain't enough. That ain't enough. We got to think about doing better in the future. And then finally, another 0.8 of an FTE going to the sewer fund, same as we did with the water, allocated over for that person, one of those three people, I should say. So the strategy for the sewer side is we're actually going to draw down your cash in the sewer. Remember that $3 million I talked about? In order to keep rates lower, we're going to draw down cash to make that happen. I'm not fond of doing that, but I think it's a prudent strategy given the fact that water is going to be up. So we're trying to find ways to bend these curves. I think you should have a new sewer master plan. It's been a long time. You should think about commissioning a new sewer master plan, particularly for your collection system. It's getting older. You're going to need to have understanding of your system in a better fashion given its age. The 5-year average increases for sewer is 6.8%, but I'm going to show you how that's going to work. This is called the ANN chart. Ann's smarter than all of us in the room. I had originally come across and I had about 7% per year rate increases going for every year. And Ann said, can't we buy down the first 2 years of sewer with cash on hand, help alleviate the overall bill? And so I remodeled it, and yeah, we could do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 5% subsidized rates for the first 2 years on sewer, and then 8% thereafter to recover. And now stormwater is kind of your smallest of your utilities, not clearly important, but not as big in terms of scale as your other two. And you've got $2 million in the operating side and about $600,000 in SDCs. You have no debt in the stormwater. And right now, God willing, and the creek don't rise, no new mandatory or regulatory mandates that we have to be facing that are unfunded mandates. In terms of the priorities, we're just going to operate and maintain what we've got the best we can. We're not going to expand. We're not going to enhance. We've got $50,000 a year in the budget for line replacement and TVing the lines. We're only going to add 1/3 of an FTE to stormwater, which will be only $28,000 to the utility. So for stormwater, we're talking about 3% per year rate increases and no new debt. And as you can see, it's a nice flat 3%, which is effectively inflation at this time. So here is what we're showing you in terms of what your neighboring communities pay for water, which is blue, sewer, which is green, and stormwater, which is light blue. You are the lowest of these competitive communities in your region. You're $91. Wood Village is what, 90, almost 94. And then Portland is off the charts and continuing to grow. So it's cold comfort for you decision makers that yes, our rates are low relative to our peers, but that doesn't absolve us from the fact that our costs are going up. Now, this is that same chart, what we add on other fees that are added to the utility bill, such as street maintenance, public safety, and then other general fund type funds, costs. So at that point, the order flips, and Wood Village is then lower. You're second lowest, almost tied to the penny with Troutdale. It's kind of curious how it's that close. And then Gresham and Portland are above you by a bit. So what we want to talk about, and here is the ask. I'd really like you to consider this tonight, is you're facing utility rate increases that cannot be avoided, particularly on water. You've already committed yourself. And we've been planning, Steve, we've been doing planning on well 10 for 10 years now, hasn't it been?
Been a while.
Council.
Let's get this thing done. And what we're talking about next year is 15% for water, next year being July 1st of 2026. So we're not talking about long time coming. It's 15% on water, 5% on sewer, 3% on storm. You know, I showed you the numbers before. In terms of adding staff, it's pretty clear work is not getting done on your systems. Maintenance has been deferred, projects have not been done, and that's only going to add to the steepness of the cliff as you come down the road. So in 2027, we're requesting an 0.8 of an FTE for water, 80% FTE for sewer, and a third for storm. We're also asking for another position that's going to go split between parks and streets. And I'll leave that to Nathan and Ann to talk about the funding strategy for that out of the general fund, which is coming up tonight. And finally, financial plans. I would like you to consider, as an elected body, adopting a 5-year rate plan for your utilities. That you establish a resolution and those rates are established going forward for 5 years. You always have the right as an elected body to revisit them, but you get them programmed in. Gresham does that. They've been doing it for quite some time. And many cities across the state are starting to go to that way. It gives you a defined strategy for your work. And the other thing is it really, really pays dividends if you go to the debt markets. Lending agencies love to see forward-looking programmed rate increases. So having a plan and getting the critical work done is really the key. So that's everything I've got. What do you guys think?
So on the full-time equivalents that you have there,
Yeah?
I mean, is that truly new people coming in the door or
3 new people coming in.
actually coming in the door? We're not reallocating
Nope,
current staff and
nope.
saying Nathan now is 0.7 to sewer
Yeah,
or
no,
water.
either
We're
way.
not playing any games with allocations.
Oh, no games.
Nope. And John put together a really coherent strategy on what he needed and how he's going to pull them together. And it came out to 3 FTEs in that way. And then we allocated those between the utilities. But yeah, that's 3 new bodies. So that's about 300,000 a year that's coming in the door that you're not spending now.
May I say?
Go ahead.
What I wanted to state, and I am concerned as we're doing a lot more work now. We've got some good employees, we're moving forward, but what I don't want to get is the system has been neglected for years. I don't want to get so bad in Tillamook where it was all built in the 70s, it wasn't taken care of, now they're just falling apart. And so by doing a little bit of time here, we can build it up and get where things are being replaced when they should be replaced. They're being checked when they should be checked, and then we can keep our system going. We don't have to have these giant jumps. So that, I mean, as far as our utilities, that's my biggest concern. On the operational side, we're working really hard to get things moving and streamlining, and we're making a lot of progress. So
So like on well 10, why is it taking so long?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you said not till the end of 27?
It'll be completed. You've got site work going on right now. I think the investigation work and
They're drilling.
They're drilling.
They're drilling.
John, you mind giving us an update on the, I know, Bob, an update on the.
yeah.
You want to take a vote? I think they're looking at spring 27.
I'm sorry, when?
Spring 27.
Spring of 27?
But if you want to know the past, John could explain to you.
Well, I don't know, we need a lot of detail. It just seemed like when I just thought I heard end of 27, I'm thinking, my God, I know it takes a while to drill a hole.
It's a little more complicated than that.
I understand that, but just, you know,
I think right now,
simplifying it.
I think spring, late spring, early summer 2027.
And while this isn't necessarily a discussion for this, can you just remind me, what is it that I'm going to see there when I drive by in the spring of 27? I have people asking me all over.
A entry and an egress, like a half moon driveway. You're going to see a well house that's probably 50 by 40.
Bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I mean, roughly, you're going to see a nice well house.
Okay.
That's going to fit the neighborhood. You're going to see a gate around it, fencing, and an upgraded storm facility adjacent to it.
But we're not going to see any storage tanks.
No.
No.
No, no. Everything is inside.
Okay.
Trees or? We plant, sorry, are we replanting trees
They
around?
are replanting, they are required.
And we're getting rid of, and we're getting rid of all the blackberries along the creeks.
I believe they are, yes.
So I noticed that there's a substantial loan, and I realize I'm asking something the horse has long left the barn.
Right, right.
Had we had more SDC funds, would we have needed to take out that loan? Or what, because I know there's a cap on how much you can use from SDC.
Right.
If the funds were healthier, would we still have to take out that loan?
You would have probably had to take out a smaller loan. You probably still would have had to take out a loan.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you. Me personally, I look at this as the residents of Fairview look at us to be responsible for maintaining what we have. It is our responsibility to make sure that clean water comes in and brown water goes out.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to take a step back about water. We're talking about water being so difficult for you. That bottle there, say that's, what, a fourth of a gallon or something? Maybe a quart? You folks in town here, the average citizen pays 1 cent per gallon to have water delivered to their house on tap 24/7. Think about the value you're getting.
That's a deal.
That is the deal.
Bad part about that is not many people are using it.
Not my fault.
They're storing they're buying bottled water.
I use mine, Steve.
I use mine.
No, I'm saying,
No, I
not
agree.
many people use it, that's
I
why.
have to change my filter on my fridge more often because I go through it.
So usually what I do at these work sessions, and I'm sorry, I'm taking way more of their time. You got a whole bunch more on your agenda, but I'd like to go around the table here, starting with Steve on my left and move down and tell me what you think and are you agreeable to our ask, my ask?
Well, you guys know where I normally come from when it comes to rate increases. I'm for our folks that don't make very much money and are living on their retirement. And it's sad. It really is. I mean, I'm living on my retirement and I'm on Social Security and now I just got my brand new stepdaughter here, which I'd like to introduce her in a little bit. It's gonna be rough on me. It is. And I already went to the state today to see if I could get some help. They can't help me. I can't even get a doctor for her. So I'm in a bad way.
I would say I understand the ask. I'm processing it. I'm like Steve, like seeing 15% increases is tough to swallow, considering our average economy right now. But I understand what needs to be done. Yeah, I guess I'm just hopeful that something will come up to help the financial part of it. Like the city will just win a few $1 million in a lottery somehow.
That one myself.
What happened to all the money that we supposedly had in, mutual funds or whatever? Didn't we have money in, like the church? Okay, the church has mutual funds that they turn around.
Actually, you do have a lot of money in, it's called the local government investment pool, and you keep a lot of money. Remember, we talked about water, you had $2 million in one fund and another $1 million in that. Problem is, you're spending over $6 million on one project to get the project funded. We're using the money. That's what's happening. We're using the money to build infrastructure to serve
Which we
customers.
should not be using the money. We should be able to save it to where we don't have to go that deep
Well, what we should have been doing for the last 10 years is slowly raising rates, and we didn't
Right.
do that. And now Nathan's carrying the bag now. He's come here and all of a sudden, why didn't we do this all along? Why didn't we do this? Predictable level increases. That's our fault. We did a bad job. We need to do better. Now, I say we, I mean this elected us as advisors. Sir, next up, Paul.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Marker. I mean, I'll say that first and then. I've spent my whole adult life one step behind, you know, cost of living going up quicker than my income goes up. And it just, after so long, it's just depressing and makes things look bleak. Having two young adult children, feeling bad for them. Hopefully their situation is better than mine, but I don't know that we have a choice. I see that it's something we have to do. And across the board, I think it's just a tricky situation that I don't think we're ever going to solve, not just as a city, but as a country. But what do you do? We've got to do it, obviously, to cover the costs. We see that with police and fire and all the other stuff. So it's just one of those inevitable things that I think we need to accept and just do our best at managing it. But it's
Thank you.
that's all.
Seeing the comparative cost of the neighboring communities makes me feel better about the big rate jump than I did before I saw that. Like that makes it, you know, like this makes sense. And like spending the money on the maintenance and, you know, and the system we have now makes sense to me, so that we're not having to spend a whole ton of money down the road on, you know, fixing a system failure in any one of the three systems. So in that sense, it makes sense. You know, this body, you know, decided to go forward with well 10. So we decided to incur that debt. So we have to pay for that debt. I guess I had one question is there going to be a cost on if using well 10, are we decommissioning older wells, or is this just additional capacity?
Additional capacity.
Okay, so-
We're not shutting down.
Okay. But I mean, we need to do it, that, you know, the rates are what the rates are. And I also, the last thing, going with a 5-year, you know, plan on the rate increases, so we know what that is and can budget for it. And also so the citizens know, so this is what it's going to be over the next 5 years. Makes sense to me, as opposed to not raising it, panic.
Yep.
Big jump, because big jumps is what people react to over little jumps. And so we've got the pain of a couple, you know, the bigger ones, and then if it goes back to basically inflation, that's better.
Got it.
Yeah.
So apparently there's no economy of scale when you're talking about water and sewer.
The only economy of scale in water and sewer is to cast a bigger net. It's all about more people. So if you could annex Portland and Gresham, then we could probably have bigger scale.
No, I'm just saying Portland with, you know, 20 times or 50 times as many people costs. And you know, what I tell my customers quite often is you're paying for the sins of the previous owner. We're paying for the sins of the previous councils. And I like Keith's question. And this is one of the reasons why I got involved with politics. We got screwed by the developers who didn't want to pay us DCs. We're built out.
Yeah.
And I want to drag them in here and beat them to a pulp and take millions of dollars away from them to pay for this, but that would be illegal.
How do you feel about that, Jeff?
You know, he sugarcoats everything.
Don't
Never really shows us.
No, I try and hold that. You know, we don't really have a choice. I do like Ann's idea of kind of offsetting.
Yeah, she's smarter than the rest of us, I guarantee you
Sleight
that.
of hand, this is going up, pay no attention to what this hand's doing over here while this one goes.
I think it's just managing your system.
Sure.
And you're blessed that you do have enough money in the tank that you can do that.
Yes.
It could have been worse. You could have gone another 5 years without rate increases, then you would have been just screwed.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, along with everybody else, I don't like paying any more money. One thing that I kind of would like to see over the next few months is we keep talking about where we're lacking, what projects we're doing. I'd like to see some high-level audit of what it is, you know, oh, all of the, you know, whatever lines in historic Fairview need to be replaced. Or, you know, we're really concerned about the sewer line, the trunk line running down Sandy, or all of these things, because it's a lot easier to tell our constituents, hey, by the way, if we don't do this, you're going to have brown stuff coming out of the streets, than it is to say, well, we need to do on camera.
Yeah.
Steve?
I'll be a little shorter than Counselor Dennerlein, because I know we have a lot to do this evening. But no, the 5-year plan, absolutely, just to put it out there, you know, and I will remain hopeful and burn incense for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year, you know, at 5%, because I mean, it doesn't.
But will you do a dance?
I might do a dance too. I mean, that's a good start. I kind of have my idea that someone else will be sitting here, but I don't know that it'll be 5, 5, and 5, but, you know, maybe it'll be close. But yeah, I mean, this has been the constant struggle since I can ever remember.
Back in 2007, when we were fighting this battle, remember?
It's so it is what it is, and the fact is, you know, we need well 10. We need people to operate and maintain the systems that we have. I feel good that we're not doing some other kind of allocations that we really, I mean, while I don't necessarily want to see 3 new people coming in the door, but if that's what we need, that's what we need in order to make this happen. So, you know, it is going to be painful for a lot of folks. There is absolutely no doubt, but I think realistically, people, the news, you hear about what's going on here, there, and everywhere. And quite frankly, I'm surprised that we're talking about 9%, not, you know, like 14%.
Well, I came out of the blocks with 14 and they hit me upside the head.
Yeah.
Let's think this through.
Yeah, so, you know, as bad as it is, I'd say it looks good, and we ought to make sure that we advertise heavily and let people know what's going on and what they're getting. And really, I think we need to advertise as well 10 as far as what in the world is going on there, because I'm constantly getting hit with people wanting to know. So maybe we've done that, people aren't reading it, but I think there's a lot of folks asking, and that not only tell them what's going on, but what we intend to get out of it. You know, how is that going to contribute to the overall health of the city, you know, from a water perspective?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
It's a bitter pill, no question about it. I'm very appreciative, and I'm very thankful that we were able to buy down some of the rates for at least a couple of years. I'm willing to sacrifice a goat or two for the future. And yes, I'll do a dance too. But
I can choreograph it.
oh, I'm sure you will. But I have always been and will always be a person that says a little bit now and a little bit is better. We've seen too many utilities ignore, and then make the big jump. And we can't afford to do the same thing. And I think it's also bears in mind to talk to the public about the dollar amount, not just the percentage amount, because the percentage amount looks daunting. I'm not saying the dollar amount isn't, but let's talk to them in numbers that they can relate
Well,
to.
that was, Nathan sent me an email. Yeah, I mean, you two, what do you guys?
No.
Get a mind meld going here?
Use language the public understands. They don't understand percentage.
Right.
They understand dollars. We need to use dollars. And, you know, I hear you. Yes, it would have been nice to defer, or to pause on well 10.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a cyclical problem. We waived SDC fees to encourage development. That encouraged development has required an increase in water. That increase in water
demand.
therefore needed the SDC fees. But we are where we are.
Yeah.
This is done. I'm not going to beat that horse anymore. We are now having to pay the piper. I do not believe we could have waited on well 10. Well 10 ensures that we have enough water for the supply of what we have in development right now. And I'm, the worst thing in the world I want to have happen is a water shortage. That will be riots in the street. I know people will be upset with rates. And when I ran for this position, when I ran for council, I fully understood that I was going to have a target on my chest. And anything we did was going to invite the flaming arrows. This is unfortunately the bitter pill that we have to swallow, that nobody likes, but we have to do it in order to ensure that we are still a city in 5 years.
So what's going to happen next is I'm going to write up a report, survey 20, 30, 40 pages of what it'll be the rate study report. And I will write up a rate resolution for you that will probably coincide with your budget adoption in May. So you're going to see my report sooner, and you're going to see a resolution with a 5-year plan for rates. And that will be your rate resolution going forward. You should probably think about directing staff for a public involvement campaign on this and public education on how to get that out. I can't agree with you anymore. We need to get the word out. Steve, you're absolutely right. I mean, Jeff, get the message out that this is what we're doing, this is what you're gonna get, and go forward from there. There are, right now, I can think of Wilsonville, Estacada, Sandy, Albany. All of these cities were doing haven't raised the rates for years, then all of a sudden they clapped out of their infrastructure. Now they're facing 40, 50, $70 million projects, and they haven't got any money to pay for it. And they're all going, how did this happen?
You can add Tillamook to that too.
Add Tillamook to that.
Kick the can, that's what we did.
The can has been kicked royally. I think getting back on the escalator, here's what we got to, Steve, I completely understand fixed income.
One thing I wanted to say is, when the union people came in here and complained about us not paying the staff as much money as we were supposed to be paying them, and they turned around and came in and said, we had not received a pay raise in 9 years. And I turned around and said, you have got to be kidding me. I worked for FedEx for 24. At least I got a pay raise. So now I understand why they did not get that pay raise for 9 years. Now I get it.
So I'm going to take my leave. You got more on your agenda. We're ready to rock and roll. I didn't hear any dissent, so we're going to move forward with your blessing. All right, thank you, everybody.
Where's your stepdaughter?
Thank you, Steve.
What's that?
Where's your stepdaughter?
Just stepped out.
Where's she at?
I don't know where she is.
Stepped out.
She stepped out?
Before we leave this, can I ask the possibility of putting up a very simple webpage on, I just looked, we have nothing.
Yeah.
On well 10 that says, hey, for all you people driving along 223rd, seeing this big thingy, this is what we're doing. This is, it doesn't have to be anything complex, but just so that I don't have to tap dance the answer all the time.
We
Yeah,
will,
I
and
don't
we'll also
mind.
put it out in our next newsletter.
I know every time I'm asked, I'm more than happy to explain what's going on. Mainly because it affords me the ability to answer the inevitable follow-up question. Like, what would it look like? Now, the pump house is going to be bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's,
That I can live with.
yeah.
But, beyond that,
Is the pump house grown from the original design? Size-wise,
for well 10,
for well 10?
has the pump house grown in original, since
No,
you,
I was just guessing off the top.
okay.
But it's the same from the original design, right?
Yeah,
Got it.
it isn't that big. I mean, it really, especially if it's painted a darker color, it's supposed to just kind of blend in.
Yeah, it's going to be natural.
Yeah.
Good. Well, real quick, I'm going to veer off the agenda now that we actually have a full council. Council Marker, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce my brand-new stepdaughter. Her name short is Jazzy, but her real name is Jasmine Mungu Wangari. That's her full name.
And I thought my name was fun.
She's in the 8th grade. She's going to Reynolds Middle School.
Nice.
And she's had her first dealings with the people that drive the bus.
Oh, yeah.
So she had a little bit of trouble there, but she's even talking about going and playing basketball.
Nice. Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad you're here.
Thanks for coming.
Finally.
All right.
And she speaks better English than I do.
Gotcha.
And Val.
Okay, well, welcome, thank you. Next is general fund review. Come on, Ann, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Not sense the sarcasm, I thought it was on.
Did you not sense mine?
No, I did.
Should have been yours.
Really,
Yeah, we're down.
be the kind of friend you'd be proud to have. Went to the wrong.
Chocolates around, or
He's gonna off.
Well, I mean, you want one or two?
I just.
Give us a kiss.
Calling my name for the last half hour.
No, don't send them back this way.
No. I did eat dinner.
Tag, you're it.
Every did a great job.
Just really quickly on the, I don't think we're,
Just had to look at.
we originally were going to talk
On the
about
bag to make sure staff, I thought, they were back there going, look at that, read that chocolate 4 years ago.
This might go.
We do want to talk
haywire.
about that. That'll just take a few minutes.
Let's, if we have time, we can look back.
Yeah, we can.
Let's just call it.
There's a lot of them.
Okay, as long as you're good with it.
Yeah, when I originally put together, I was trying. Just thought,
On my bed, cats all on my feet.
take a long time.
Hey, Deborah.
An hour.
It's gonna be a heavy.
There's gonna be, I mean, we have to remain open
And
to
I see you found the candy counselor.
options.
I sure did.
Yeah, sure.
All right, are we all good with food and everything?
Okay.
All right, buckle up and take it away.
Nathan's gonna say a few things.
Yeah, I'll get
Nathan's gonna
started.
say a few things, okay.
Okay, so thank you all for being here. I want you to know, first of all, this is going to be a lot of discussion here. But again, all about transparency. And as I said in the last session, well, the last presentation, what I really hope the council will do is move towards how can we get over the big bump and move forward so we can rebuild our system, rebuild our city to a healthy place. Ann has put a tremendous amount of work into this, and all of our department heads are wonderful. As you know, also, Ann has almost finished up 3 audits now.
I know.
So, and she's got 3 more to go, but we're getting there. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So I will interject as we go. There's a lot of things to cover, so thank you.
Okay, first, before we get started, the 5-year forecast in these slides, in the following scenarios, was built on estimating the current year using actual data as of December 31st, 2025, and then projecting out the 5 years using specific assumptions. And unless I state it, all the revenues that you see include beginning fund balance. There are points where it doesn't, when you're looking at operating revenue versus operating expense, the beginning fund balance will not be in that revenue.
Okay.
And I'm using the public safety fee as a tool to balance what is needed in revenue to get the end results that I want to see within the charts that are presented. It is not my intent to say that the public safety fee has to be raised or whatever to those levels. It's just the easiest way to show you all what is needed in one spot, rather than trying to do a lot of assumptions on a lot of different revenue types. So with that, so the agenda is, I'm going to go over the assumptions used in the forecasting. We're going to start off with looking at the current year budget and actual projections to June 30th. I'm going to take a look at the current year, current revenue and expenditures so that you can see, do the revenues cover what we're spending? Take a look at property taxes versus our emergency service costs, doing a 5-year forecast, status quo, if we continue going the way we're going, what is that going to look like? Raising the public safety fee to get the end results we want each year in that 5-year forecast. And then going into some what ifs, like renegotiating the Multnomah County contract for police services, looking at what getting a fire district will do to the soundness of the general fund. And those are looked at individually. And then looking at what if we do both and how that looks. And then also looking at how capital expenditures affect the forecast.
Can I just say something, Ann?
Yes.
So when we're looking at this, we wanted to look at the really big things that make the most sense, and Ann's going to dive into it, but for example, the rest of our operations are, the general fund portion of all of our other operations is very, very small. These are the big things that really affect the general fund, so.
So the revenue assumptions that I used, I increased property taxes 1% across each year. We did see a 1.9% increase in the current year in our property taxes. It's well below the 3% that the assessed values go up each year.
$1,000 total, is that what it was?
50,000, we were
That's it.
50,000 short from what I projected during budget and what we actually received. So, and then I used a 0.5% increase on franchise fees. Again, revenues that we tax, I say tax, charge franchise fees on is either growing slower, not at all, or even there are reductions in those revenues. So I don't feel that a huge increase in franchise fees are warranted. I did apply a 2% increase on state shared revenues. Hopefully that is a good amount. And I added on charges for services, a 5% increase per Resolution 6, 2024, which we raise our charges for services 5% each year. We do have administrative service charges as a revenue in the general fund. I did a 3% increase each year on that based on an average 3% for payroll costs and materials and services that the administrative programs in the general fund will see going forward. And then I didn't do any forecasted increase for licenses and permits and the miscellaneous revenues. Those are harder to ascertain. And the increases on those revenues, I didn't feel would be material to this exercise. On the expenditures.
Can you go back 1 second?
Yeah.
Can you refresh my memory, oh, is that the previous screen?
That is the previous screen.
Yes.
Oh, Resolution 6-20, 20.
Charges for services?
Can you refresh my memory?
In 2024, a resolution was brought to council that the city can increase its charges for services 5% each year on July 1 for, I think it was a period of 5 years. So I used that 5% across the 5 years, even though that resolution will expire at some point within this 5-year projection. I will continue.
Okay, what kind of services are we talking about?
Well, Sarah, you want to give us an update?
It's permit fees, land use fees, administrative fees, basically for kind of city services provided to the public.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Mostly out of community development, there are a few others.
So is that going up?
Goes up every year.
It goes up every year, 5%.
Yeah, if you're not going to pull a permit, you probably won't notice the difference.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because we got the sign deal going on up at the church. And the thing is the longer we wait to turn around and fix that problem, the more money that's going to have to be paid to get that fixed. Now, and I'm going to say this, you might hate me by the end of the night, but that's not fair.
And we can have a conversation outside this, but reminder, it was not on the city didn't cause the issue.
No, I agree with you there, okay? I agree with you wholeheartedly there.
And-
There was a electrician that didn't follow the rules and stuff like that, but the church is continuing to be penalized by this deal with the sign, okay? And I don't think that's right.
We can talk outside, but
Okay.
Sarah and I met. and
That's
we-
fine.
We had some solutions which are, I think, very reasonable for them, so. But
Okay.
Okay, so my expenditure assumptions in doing this forecast, I'm looking at payroll. I increased wages 3%. The contract that we have with Teamsters does say it's based on the CPIW, and it at least 2%, but no more than 5%. I picked 3% as the middle of the road across the 5 years. Health insurance, I increased overall 10%. Our health insurance, we kind of stagger the fiscal year with it, so it ends up being 5% per month because we wouldn't have an increase the first month, and I increased it 10% the last half of the year. A 5% increase for PERS. I didn't increase our life or disability insurance. It's really pretty immaterial to payroll costs. And then I increased payroll tax expense for the departments 3% to follow along with the wages. Materials and services, a 3% increase. I want to emphasize that the assumptions used in most of these scenarios, I am not planning any capital expenditures out of the general fund. So no capital spending was budgeted for those 5 years. We do have transfers out. I did not increase the general fund contributions for equipment or building maintenance. We do have a transfer to the recreation fund that covers, right now, it's 53% of the recreation director's salary. And then the city of Wood Village pays us for the 47%. And then the transfer the general fund makes also includes the events that the recreation department puts on, such as Summerfest and the tree lighting.
if I may say one thing too, we just met with our broker for our insurance, and you can be proud of our city. In 3 years, we've only had one very minor workers' comp claim. And so our increases are very minimal compared to other places. Nice. Thank you.
So future expenditure issues that we need to be aware of. The city's financial policy was adopted in 2014 by Resolution 7-2014. This exercise uses 3 months of operating expense as the benchmark for fund balance. However, this policy does indicate that there should be an emergency reserve over and above that 3 months fund balance of 5% of operating expenses. I'm not including that 5% in any of these scenarios here. And then the MCSO contract is projected to increase 50% in year 27-28 based on the outcome of Troutdale's negotiations to get their contract renewed.
And that was serious service cuts too. They lost a chief, everything.
The fire services increases are based on known costs. We know what they're going to be charging us for the next 5 years. So it would averaged about 8% per year. So that's what I used. And then BOEC will be increasing. We can expect 15% for the next fiscal year. So I used that 15% for the 5 years in my projections.
Can you just refresh my memory on Multnomah County increase of 50%? So when the city switched to Multnomah County to do the police, which I wasn't here, by the way. Not that it would have made any difference.
That's your council
But
break.
when we when the city, when that was done, the current agreement that we're in, what does the current agreement say? I mean, it's just for a specific term and then you just renegotiate everything from ground zero again, and that's how you get to a 50% increase? I mean, I don't understand.
I can explain that. That's all right.
Go ahead.
And of course, Eric can probably tell you more, but so you got to remember, whenever you take rid of a police department, get a sheriff's office, you still got to pay the same cost. So negotiate a 10-year agreement. In that 10-year agreement, there are multiple things that go up every year. Now, I actually have a meeting I'm working on scheduling with the county and their finance manager to actually better understand those increases. But there's multiple sections in there that it allows for increases. So Ann went back and looked at our records and she came up with an average. I mean, there was one year it was like, what, 19% increase, and one year it was like 4% increase. They have these, it's built into their contract, they have these multiple increases every year. On the average, it's been about 7% every year it's gone up since the 10 years. So our contract ends the end of August of 27 next year. And what we did was, without getting into a whole discussion with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office at this point, we took it and based it off of Troutdale. Now, what I understand from Ray Young, previous city manager, was Troutdale was paying $4 million at the time of last year, a year, and they came back, the first contract from Multnomah County Sheriff's Office was $7.8 million. And so they worked and they cut services and they came up with a $6 million figure. So Troutdale is currently paying $6 million a year. They also, the Sheriff's Office does pay some income, I think, off of that building. Now, we don't do that. We don't charge rent for our building. So we, without getting the whole discussion, we decided that if that's where they were landed at, if we were to continue the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, I've already talked multiple times. I've talked with the sheriff, talked with both our chiefs, and the Sheriff's Office feels like they're subsidizing this. Excuse me, whether they are or not, I don't know. They feel like they believe that they're subsidizing us, and they are paying for some of our services because we're providing more than what it costs them. So anyway, with that information, we developed a 50% projected increase for 27-28. Which would mean, right now we're about 3.5 million or so.
So tired of that phrase of we're subsidizing you.
Apparently we subsidize everybody, don't we?
It was
Fire, police.
It was a contract. That's what the contract was.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
just,
complain about it now.
yeah, I'm just sharing the information.
So we don't know if we continue with MCSO. We don't know what that new contract is like at this point. Our best guess is to follow suit with what Troutdale was able to negotiate with them, which was a.
And so at this point, Troutdale is moving forward with the county, continue their policing.
Yeah, theirs actually ended last fiscal year, June 30th, this past year. They entered into another contract. They have some different stipulation than us, but they have a contract. I don't know how long it is, but right now they're paying $6 million a year.
So they've given up exploring reconstituting their police department?
Oh, no, they haven't, but that's not public discussion.
I mean, I'm just curious, how long is their new agreement?
Well, if you don't mind, Mayor, I'd like to defer to your expert here.
Yeah.
I don't really know if he's willing, so I don't know.
He's under no obligation. 3 years.
3-year agreement, but they negotiated under the goal, desire, whatever you want to say, to explore an alternative solution for police services. Negotiations made it pretty clear that the current elected sheriff has a different view on providing contracted services to cities than two prior sheriffs. It isn't as much of a mission priority, shall we say, from her perspective. And so us exploring alternative services was something that she wanted to encourage. Now, who's going to be the elected sheriff, because they generally aren't there forever. So I don't know what the next elected sheriff's viewpoint will be. This current sheriff came from the correction side. So until she became sheriff, she had never had anything to do with patrol. So she just brings a different perspective on it. But saying good, bad, it's different. So it's,
If I may add one other thing too, if I'm not mistaken, Troutdale has a 2 or 3 month or it's a short amount of time they can give notice to end the contract. We have a 2-year notice, which wouldn't do any good because.
It's up before then.
Yeah, it's not before that, so. The details of the contract.
Moving on. So looking at current year budget and actuals, we budgeted the current year ending fund balance below policy requirements. With my projections to June 30th, it looks like our revenues are going to be coming in under what we budgeted, but our expenses are too. When you net those two together, it bumps up our fund balance from what we expected it to be, just slightly, just a little bit, from what we expected when we prepared the budget. So even though revenues are short, expenses are shorter, and it helps the ending fund balance. Okay. So that's good news.
And that was a budget based on, we knew nothing was going on in the past.
I mean, we had issues with revenues. Beginning fund balance didn't come in where I had anticipated. It was lower. Property taxes are lower. I think franchise fees everything's just coming in lower. But the team is really good at controlling what they spend, and we're able to reduce our expenses to cover for that.
Okay.
So this is what the general fund looks like as a pie for the current year's expenditures. So public safety, which I consider, or emergency services, I'll refer to later on, is police, fire, and 911. So that is 65.15% of the general fund. Personnel services, I don't know where that 62% is wrong. The amount is right, but the percentage is wrong. Oh, no, it's correct. So personnel services portion, I wanted to split out for you. Wages and salaries represent 62 of the personal services costs, and the benefits represent 38%. So you can see the split between wages and benefits on the personnel services. But the majority of the general fund is for emergency services. Looking at revenues, property taxes are just 36%. They pay for less than half of all of the emergency services in the general fund. As I mentioned in the previous, I didn't say that in the previous slide. The administrative services charges, I'll go back. It's not in there, that's why I didn't say it. Oh, the administrative services are part of the personnel costs and the materials and services. So we have programs within the general fund that we consider administrative services, that we are here to provide our main customers, our other departments within the city. So going back to the revenues, those administrative services charges go to pay for those administrative services programs. So it's like an in and an out. It's basically a wash with those two specific things. So those are revenues that even if we raised them to the other funds, it really wouldn't help the situation the general fund is in.
And may I say something? And that's what was really in bad shape when Ann and I both arrived, because everything was going to weird allocations. So the team sat down, the department sat down last year and went through and really looked at what belongs where. So we got everything resorted out. So this is actually good representation where it should be.
So looking at state shared revenue is a very small portion, and the city doesn't have any control over what we get for state shared. The state divvies that up and we get what we get. So nothing we can do there. Franchise fees, our control over franchise fees is limited, and we'll get into that a little bit more later on. All other revenue consists of our permits, interest earnings, charges for services. It's only 17% of the revenue that we receive. Even if we did increase over what we already have been doing, the effect wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps you're going to be seeing going forward. So this slide is kind of weird, but if the city should continue on the same trajectory that we have been, that we are in the current year, the first two columns are the budget and actuals for the current year, revenue and expense, the orange and the green, and this will follow through each of the slides. So the first two columns are current year, and then the orange and the green are the projections that I've made. You can see revenue increases, and this is keeping public safety fee at $20, not doing any increases there. Our increases in costs will lead us to an estimated $5 million deficit in the general fund by the year 2030-31. Because as you can see, our revenues are not increasing, but our costs are. And each year we're eating into our fund balance, and you can see the purple line below shows how much of that fund balance we're eating into. And it's 5 million by the end of the projection.
And we don't have that fund balance, just so you know.
So one of the problems that I mentioned was our property taxes aren't enough to cover even close our emergency services costs. The costs in green and then the property tax revenue. Costs keep going up and the revenue is pretty static. So on this slide, again, status quo. Our emergency services costs are increasing, like I said, in the assumptions. The public safety fees remain at $20. You can see what it is at 26, 27, shortly after the beginning of that year. The operating revenues equal operating expense. And this does not include beginning fund balance. And the purple line shows the decline of fund balance. And when you get to the 2030-31 year, the gap between the revenues and the expenses is just huge.
Well, that just goes to prove Rome wasn't built in a day.
So looking at, again, everything the same, but taking that public safety fee and filling the gap with that fee to keep our ending fund balance at the minimum, and I have to emphasize this is the minimum policy level. By 2030-31, the public safety fee would need to be $160 or $116 per month in order to keep the fund balance where it needs to be per policy at a minimum. So the purple line is the actual fund balance. The red line is the policy level. And in this projection, I increased the public safety fee to $50. We need to find an addition, looking at it in the public safety fee outlook, $30 per household we need to find in order for the next year to make our fund balance healthy or healthier. So our first scenario, we could look at reducing our policing services to decrease the MSCO contract. I picked 1.2 million per year, reducing it to 1.2 million, just to see. Starting in 26, 27, the public safety fee would be 50, and it would stay 50 across the 5 years. By the end of the 5-year projection, you can see the revenues are going up. This does include fund balance, so each year the revenue jumps because it includes the fund balance from the previous year. It exaggerates it a little, but you can see the fund balance in the purple. By the end of the 5-year projection, we have an estimated 10.2 million in reserves. These reserves could be used for things like major park improvements. Like I said, I haven't put any capital improvements in this projection at all. So at best, we're maintaining what we have, but not improving anything.
May I interject a little bit here? And so a couple of things here. Number one, just so you know, I'm sure you're all aware of this, but cities don't have to have police departments. I'm not suggesting we get rid of police, but I'm saying technically by law, sheriff's office have to cover the city, even if you don't have a contract. Now, I've seen that not work so well in Sonoma County, but nevertheless, it's the case. So my first thought was if we can drop our service level down, still negotiate something, and we also have other options because we do have a building that they can use, sheriff's office. There's also other contractors out there. Gresham might be interested. There's also a possibility to have the other cities work together on something. But I came back with 1 million, and then Nancy, let's do a 66% cut, so she came back with 1.2 million. But the thought is, this is one scenario. If we were to cut that down and still negotiate, I think we can do it, at least some type of patrol and a little bit better response than just extreme emergencies. It will allow us to start building up our cash balance. Not only can we actually, so we have a problem right now with our parks, like our playground equipment is now no longer, I don't think any of it's even supposed to be there, but needs to be replaced. But even more than that, would be putting away some money. We actually, Ann will show you, I don't want to get too far ahead, but building in several $1 million for police capital. Because if we were to bring back our own police department, or even if we were to enter into some type of agreement with other small nearby cities, it's going to cost some capital. And then also with a new fire station too, it's going to cost some capital. And so this actually allows us to put the capital in that we need to provide from the city of Fairview. So just some thoughts.
I did a little bit of checking on this myself, and I found out that if we never got a police department again, the people that would have to turn around and fill in would be the state police. That would be the group that would have to turn around and come out and do our policing services for it.
Actually, it's the sheriff's office. It's the sheriff's office.
Well,
For anything,
that's not what I'm just saying that's not what I was told. And I was told this by a senior public official, let's put it that way.
good.
So we could look at the same scenario, decreasing the MCSO contract to 1.2 million, and then also doing away with the public safety fee at the same time. But if you look at the purple line, it goes up for a bit and then it goes down. And so that 1-year decrease helps with the fund balance, but with the rising costs of the contract, then you can see that the costs are still eating away at that balance, and we would end up at just 628,000 in the general fund balance by the end of the 5-year forecast if we took away that public safety fee.
And just so you know, I've already talked to our chief. He's already aware of, I just want to know he was aware of this presentation.
So now we can look at what the effects of creating or joining a fire district might look like So we go back to the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office contract increases 50% and then 7% as it would have. We keep the public safety fee at $50 across the 5 years. We would still end up with a negative fund balance of 1.5 million by the end of the 5 years, because it's just not enough.
The fire district isn't a big enough of a hammer as the sheriff's office is.
No, you'll see that. The sheriff's office contract is by far the biggest. If we, again, like we did with the policing contract, stop the public safety fee after the district was created, that fund balance plummets. Because again, the MCSO contract is taking so much of the general fund, we'd end up at a negative 7.4 million by the end of the 5 years. If we increased the public safety fee and did the fire district as well, the fee would increase 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, up to the 88. After 28, 29, no increase is needed. And if you kept that $88 across those last 3 years, we could build a little bit of reserve in excess of the policy requirements for fund balance to then again go back towards capital or what other needs that the fund has. But we would be in a much better place, not just having the minimum fund balance with this scenario. This is combining the two efforts of the MCSO contract and the fire district, and getting rid of the public safety fee when the MCSO contract is renegotiated down to the 1.2 million. It keeps the fund balance above the red line, which is the minimum requirement. And then we end up with about 4.8 million in excess of minimum policy amount. Again, that could be saved for future capital projects, other needs of the fund.
But in this scenario, the fire district would cost additional monies up and beyond.
We're getting there. Let's go through the slides, and if I don't answer your question, then we can revisit that. Yeah, there are additional costs to doing the fire district, and part of that is we will have a capital contribution requirement that I put into this chart in 28, 29, where the fund balance dips below zero. Nathan and I estimated that maybe we'd need to contribute about $3 million towards capital to get the fire district up and going. At that point, the general fund doesn't have it without continuing the public safety fee. It's just not there. And then in the last year of the forecast, should the city decide to, council decide to look into bringing back the police department for the city, again, there would be some capital expense required. And I plugged in another 3 million in the last year. And by the last year, there was enough to cover that 3 million, but you can see the drop in fund balance at that point. I just want to say that this option is not an option. We can't have a negative fund balance.
No.
So doing it this way, I just wanted to let you visualize that we cannot get rid of that public safety fee. It just won't work. So this is operating revenue and operating expenses for the previous scenario. What we were looking at in 28, 29, when that dipped below, the fund balance dipped into the negative. You can see that revenues and expenses, operating revenue and expense are almost equal. There is no room for anything without eating into your fund balance. It improves the next 2 years, but that year, there's just no room for that capital contribution. So what does it look like if we keep the $50 across the 5 years? It looks a lot better because our costs are going down and we're keeping that revenue coming in that we can put into our fund balance and save it for that year that we know we're going to need to invest some capital into the district. And investing that 3 million in 28, 29, you can see there's a dip in that purple line, but it's still above the red line, which is good, and it's considerably above the red line, which is even better. And it just, the balance just continues to grow. So then if we add the 3 million, if we were to invest in a police department, it dipped slightly in the last year, but again, it's that we have it to spend. And we can play, I picked $50 because that's what is needed for the next fiscal year, the amount of revenue that we need for the next fiscal year. We can play with what is charged out over the following 4 years. Do we need that big of a fund balance in the general fund? Would be a discussion to have. But you've got to remember, anything that you decrease, say in 28, 29, has a big impact by the time you get to the end of that 5-year forecast. And again, looking at operating revenue versus expense on the previous scenario, you can see that the revenues decrease and it decreases from 26, 27 to 27, 28 when we get rid of a majority of the MSCO contract or MCSO contract. But it starts climbing again. And then when we get into the fire district, it drops drastically again, but then it starts climbing again. And the slope of the green line, which are your expenses, is greater than the slope of the orange line, which is your revenues. So at one point in the future, and I didn't crunch any numbers to figure out how far into the future this would happen, those two lines are going to meet again. Because expenses are going up faster than the revenues, and then you're going to be in that same position again. What are we going to do to fill that gap? So you really have to be careful at looking at decreasing the fees to help in the short term when you're going to be back at it in the long term at some point. And if you decrease the fees, it'll be sooner rather than later to where you're going to be having this discussion again. So now I want to look at the pies again. Now that we've gone through all of those slides. We have 65.5% or 5.8 million of all expenses are for emergency services. 34.5% or 3.1 million is everything else. And the everything else includes community development, parks, and administrative services. Property taxes and the public safety fee amount to 4.2 million, which is 1.2 million short of covering the emergency services costs for the current year. After the remaining revenue pays for the everything else, there's an additional $1 million to go towards emergency services, but it still isn't enough. It's about $600,000 short. And that comes out of your ending fund balance. If you continue that year over year, you're going to end up with no fund balance. And the only current general fund revenue that we have that can make a substantial difference and fill the gap is the public safety fee or any other fee that would be enacted to cover some of these costs. I wanted to go over the limits of the other revenues again, looking at franchise fees. It's limited to 7%. We can't charge over 7% for our franchise fees. And as I said, that the revenues that are being taxed are maxing out or decreasing. So it's just not there to expect franchise fees to be a help to fill this gap. The state shared revenues are what we receive. We have no control over those. The administration service charges are used to provide or pay for those administrative programs within the fund and won't be of any help in filling that gap. And again, all of the other fees, the permits, charges for services, et cetera, they're not enough to impact a substantial increase. The impact isn't going to be very big to fill that gap. And these charges are usually just to cover the cost of what it costs us to provide the service to the customer. So we don't charge to make a profit on any of our charges for services. It's just the government way. So my last slide, I have 4 takeaways that I had after I've completed this exercise. And the first one is, no matter how you slice it, restructuring how we provide emergency services will not negate the need of some sort of fee for the general fund. Getting rid of the fee, whether it impacts the fund in the near future within the next 5 years, or it impacts the fund further out than 5 years, it will impact the fund negatively. We do need to, I say, increase the public safety fee for 26, 27, $30, but we do need to find that $30 per household per month revenue in order for us to have the minimum fund balance per financial policy. It's something that we are going to need to have, or our fund balance is again going to decrease to extremely unhealthy levels. Property taxes have ceased to be the revenue for the general fund. It used to be we could fund things with property taxes. Now, you can't expect property taxes to fund any one thing. We just can't get the increases. And Fairview is kind of different in its own way. It's pretty much built out. You're not going to see the assessed value increases that you see in areas that have a lot of development going on. It's just not going to be there for Fairview, unfortunately. And the last one is the city needs to balance the general fund's operating revenues with its operating expenses going forward. Because having to deal with the volatility of the fund balance, up, down, not having enough in fund balance to cover emergent situations should they arise. We need to have a balanced operating budget in order to stabilize that for the city.
So you, on your assumptions, then a 3% increase in, I guess, salary and different percentages for benefits and so on. So there's no additional headcount that you're proposing?
The payroll that I used is what has been proposed. So it includes the three that Steve talked about.
Right, but those are going to be funded from utilities.
Right.
Right, so there's no other headcount in the organization based on these assumptions.
Did it take into account the economic development specialist?
I believe it did.
Okay, so the one other position we need to fill, we haven't been able to because the general fund side of it, it's going to be roughly about 50% general funded, is the economic development specialist, which would help be able to work on potential things like redevelopment and bringing in more business. That's the whole point of that position.
But are we actively
No,
looking to buy that today? We're on hold till.
that's on hold until we have our budget adopted, depending on how our budget goes. Yeah, so there is no, I mean, could we use other positions? Absolutely, but there's nothing planned. We don't have the money.
So I guess the other way to think of this, whatever we're going to do to influence a public safety fee, it's the public safety fee plus this round dollars, call it the $10 water, sewer, stormwater fee.
Yeah.
What are the possible hurdles of bringing in, or the possible timetable of bringing in a fuel tax?
Well, so I'm glad you brought that up. There are a lot of other revenues. So on the fuel tax alone, we'd have to take it, it would have to be some work, we'd have to get people to vote on it.
It is to the voters.
And it has to get to the, I'm sure Ira could speak better on the timelines right now on what it takes to go to the voting, but we'd have to take it and you have to put it on. It's usually about 3 months before it goes to vote. It's usually like a February deadline for May to put on the May, and it's like, what is September, something from August for November. We did the fuel tax in Tillamook, we were not successful because it wasn't advertised. So that's a whole other story, but we did get 40%. But, the thing about fuel tax is, again, the fuel tax only goes to our streets. So it's wonderful. It would definitely help our streets. Has nothing to do with the general fund.
Okay.
And so if you wanted to look at the revenues, we can do a whole session. I mean, there's all kinds of, I've even talked about, internally, we've talked about an idea was, what if we did a fee on organizations, if we can legally do this, that don't pay taxes? For example, we have a large apartment complex that doesn't pay taxes, which is like 20% of our population. So, I mean, there's things we can look at. There's all kinds of other revenues. There's prepared food tax. I mean, technically, you could even have a sales tax, although if you're going to do that.
I'm not village about that.
I'm not suggesting you, I'm just throwing out, there are tons of revenue sources, but we would have to take a look at those revenues. We can do it, absolutely. We'd have to divide up where they go, because oftentimes a lot of those revenues are very specific.
You have to earmark when you collect, like, it comes in, goes to this thing, it's not general.
Correct. Yeah, everything like fuel tax goes to streets.
That's why the red light camera disappeared on the corner, because that money was not going where it was supposed to go.
There are lots, there's diverse ways of things we can look at, and we're happy to do that. We just wanted, the main purpose of this was to get to kind of what you're looking at to get there. This is absolutely the easiest road. There are other roads. There are other things we could do.
Yeah, I felt that by using the public safety fee from going from $20 a month to the $116 or $18 a month by the end of the 5 years, that gives you a good feel for what is needed. So that's like what, almost six times increase over 5 years. And we're at about 1.1 million. So by the end of the 5 years, we're going to need, between $5 and $6 million, where we're just getting the 1.1 now.
If I remember, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
If I remember correctly in Telemark, now we get a lot of traffic off of 101, and we had several gas stations, big Fred Meyer gas station, we had a bunch of gas stations, and I think it was like 300,000 extra a year at the most. I mean, and we have 2 small gas stations, that fuel tax is just a massive amount, it's not gonna yield us a lot of money,
I'm just
unfortunately.
looking for any drop in the bucket.
No, and we absolutely, and those are things that I think, if you sell it to the public, that is mostly people coming through, they'll pass it. We had a problem, it wasn't sold to the public there, but, I mean, there's lots of things we can do, and we can look at those things, but we have to explore it, we have to dig into it, so.
Okay.
I know it's bleak news. I do want to say that one of the things about it, we can get to a point where we're a level playing field and we can start increasing a little bit of time, be in a lot better position. I will tell you that we run a really lean crew. And I've done literally trying to do everything I possibly can do to make an impact to show our employees that we care about them by doing, all kinds of things, that don't necessarily affect us too much. We are doing a comprehensive compensation study, and we'll make sure we keep that up. But that's, getting them competitive is really important. But, there's just simple things like giving a half day off before Thanksgiving. If we go to a 4-day work, I'm not going to do that anymore because it's going to be a different schedule. But just small things like that. Try to do those things, a little chili cook-off, barbecue here and there. Just trying to do things to show our employees we care.
Well, I think this would be a good message. I mean, as you're ramping up for the budget committee meetings, I guess, the budget meetings, it would be interesting to hear another 7 people, what their thoughts are too, just, as it relates to the budget, and maybe how we need to take this forward.
I would be interested in hearing about some more of those other revenue ideas as a way to offset the steep increase in the public safety fee is, if there's a way that we don't go all the way up like that curve shows, but I don't know, work, but like the apartments that don't pay taxes, or like what other revenue sources do we have access to?
You have to get outside the box.
That can make it so then we don't have to do that many steps. And I would like to see those options, because I see that we're going to need to increase this fee, and 60% or more of our budget is public safety. So calling the public safety fee makes sense. That's where the money goes out of our general fund. But I would like to see those options so we can see if we can offset, not raise it as much over that 5-year step. Even if we can't, we can't. But I would like to see that.
I agree, even if they're minimal amounts. If they're minimal, but we have 6, 7, 8 of them, what does that look like?
Does that take $15 off that final step? Does it,
Right.
does it take $20 off that final step? I'd be happier with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. The other thing I want to tell you, just if, I don't know if it makes you feel better or not, but Jacksonville, Oregon is $79 a month in their public safety fee. So if you got to the point where there was tax reform, and property taxes were changed, then it could change. I mean,
Yeah.
problem is,
I mean, maybe people need, I can't believe this, turned into such a politician. Maybe if people see that the parks aren't being mowed and the police don't respond as fast because we don't have any money, they'd be more amenable to looking at property taxes, property tax reform. It's nuts.
I'm not trying to force a hand, I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I know there are more than a few city councilors and mayors that are talking about trying to push for property tax reset on sale
Yeah,
of a home, so.
California style.
Yeah, the California
You know,
style.
you're not hammered right now if you're a homeowner, and you can at least plan for it when you can have some sort of formula when you're purchasing a home to at least gauge what that's going to be, but there is a growing sentiment
Good.
that we need to do something. Right now, Portland is the only jurisdiction that isn't feeling the pinch. And they're feeling it in different ways, but almost every other jurisdiction is looking at very similar forecasts from what I'm hearing. And so there's definitely a less than quiet rumble. The state, we need to do something on state level. Now, with that said, we can't wait for it. We can't bank on that happening either. We need to go on these numbers of what we know. And if things change, great, we can adjust. But until that flying elephant comes in the room.
Is there any way, you're talking about resetting the property tax for a house that you're selling? Could they do the same thing with like a refi?
I don't believe, yeah, it depends on how it's written, I don't know. I mean, that's an open-ended discussion.
I think the biggest problem with our property tax system was when our permanent rates were set, they roll any operating levies and stuff into the permanent rate. And for those jurisdictions that didn't have any of that, their permanent rates are lower. Assessed value only grows at 3%, but you can look at our property taxes, that didn't equate to a 3% increase in our revenue. So, and with the presentation that Seth gave, I mean, we're losing to inflation every single year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we have been for 30 years.
And one of the issues is when those property tax were all capped, whatever the rate at the city was, is what they stayed at, and I think Portland's over like 8%, or I think it's a lot bigger than we
Have
are.
we maximized our, leaving anything behind, can we raise our rate?
Nope,
No, you can't raise
you
the rate.
can't raise the rate.
Whole state's locked, but every city was locked at the rate they had at the time. Portland had a really high rate,
Yeah.
so they're locked. We had a low rate, we're locked at a low rate. The only thing we can possibly do is add a levy to it, but if we do that, it's only 5 years, and it's gone.
It's Band-Aid fix.
It's a Band-Aid, it's not sustainable, that's the problem. And then you have to get everybody to vote on it too. It's just not sustainable. Plus it stays the same, let's say you got small, it just stays the same, you can't adjust it or anything this way.
I guess I'm sitting here looking at the 2017 packets from when we did the deal with MSCO. And why is it that as a city, we're increasing our salaries by 3%, but MSCO is stinging us for 7%? If we kept our police department, maybe we'd be at 3% instead of 7%, or 4% instead of 7%. And I'm looking at what, Multnomah County brought to, and I just clicked off of it, brought to the table. And it's kind of like, well, that's really interesting, but, do we need, interagency, blah, blah, or, enhanced canine support? I've never seen a dog in this city except for the play dog that they bring. But we're paying for it. And the funny thing is there were a couple of counselors back then who said, guys, this is going to blow up. We don't need this. If you looked at the graph that they were providing back then, if we kept our police force, it was less than what we would pay for MSCO. And I'm afraid that we're going to start making these same mistakes again. I don't want to be the council of the past that was kind of short-sighted, didn't look beyond that 5-year presentation that they were bringing to us. What does this do at 7 or 8 or 9? So it's frustrating.
Yeah, if I may say, I mean, a lot of decisions in the past, I'm not taking away from anything because I wasn't here, but a lot of decisions, I really don't believe that the council's given really good information look down the future. We had the same problem, our URA. I mean, even, I will tell you, our previous people here met with me and told me we had plenty of money. We don't have plenty of money. The situation with what we've happened, with the money's been spent, you're right, we are so far out of money, we're literally concerned we won't even be able to pay for the little 223rd undercrossing. I think we're gonna be okay. We are exploring other options, trying to figure out how we're gonna pay for that, because that's extremely important as we work on it, but our URA money it's about out. I mean, you're gonna see in the budget that we have almost no money in there, and we can't, and because the financial decisions made, we can't go out and get a loan, at least not for a good deal. You know, the fork is a beautiful, cool thing. We don't own anything. It all goes to the property owner afterwards. We also pay $14,000 a month, or a month, excuse me, in a year in lease. We also pay all the property taxes continue on it. So it's really cool. I like it a lot. I'm just saying that I'm just saying there wasn't a lot of information provided. I don't think that there were options and financial projections were very strong. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that I don't think the council's given the tools. I'm trying to give the tools to you now to move forward in the future. Having worked in many cities with many different types of, volunteer, not volunteer police departments, you have reserve, but police department, sheriff's department, contract, I've worked in all these different cities, and I've found that when you have your own police department, you can control the cost, you can control the service. I've worked at one city that went back to their police department later after working with the sheriff's office. I've seen cities that work with the sheriff's office with, I can tell my county was zero paid to them, and the sheriff just had to respond. And because they have very limited, and they have limited resources too, they're only showing up with very high emergency issues. It just all depends. Also, Tillamook County is huge, and they have 50 deputies. Size-wise, it's bigger than Multnomah County, but there's so many different things. And I'm not suggesting that anybody did anything wrong. I'm just suggesting that maybe there wasn't information that could have been there. So we're trying to help provide the information for you to make the best decisions, informed decisions you can in the future. So.
Any chance we could do like a 10-minute break or something? For that?
Yeah, I feel like somebody just told me like Christmas will never happen again. Right.
Why don't we take a 10?
Okay.
I need some alcohol.
Oh, yeah. These are all these things that we were supposed to get from Multnomah.
Volunteer coordinator.
Hazmat dedication.
Of course, I didn't know you guys were gonna take a break.
I have no idea.
I didn't do anything with it.
This is,
Bunch of bullshit.
it is a bunch of.
Bob's here.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Kind of depressing 2 weeks.
All right, we'll call back to order the meeting for Wednesday, February 4th. Is there anything left on item 2 for general fund review?
I have nothing.
You have nothing. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, we're going to skip item number 3 for right now. We're going to go to proposed budget committee meeting dates.
I'm going to let Ann talk about this, but what we wanted to look at, I'll let Ann talk about it, but it's basically a little change in format to hopefully, if you agree to it, would be able to allow Ann to do the budget a little bit more condensed for what she's doing. I also want to point out this is exactly, I didn't even realize it until I looked it up, but this is exactly the way Troutdale does it, so. Do you mind, Ann?
I don't have the dates in front of me, but.
Are we looking at the first 3 in May?
Well, so here's
Kind of,
the,
sort of, but not really.
Kind of, sort of, but not, well, it's either yes or no.
So much for binary answer.
How about, when would be the first date?
so in the past, let me back up here. So in the past, the city council, or excuse me, the budget committee met on a Monday in May and gave a little presentation and gave the budget.
Yes.
Then we came back the next Monday and they discussed it, and if they needed to, they came back a third Monday. What we're proposing is to put out the budget the week before, we would send out electronically, someone could not do electronic, I guess they could come in and pick up a paper copy, but we would send it out electronically on that Monday, everyone would get it. And then the next Monday, we would meet, as usual, go over the budget, presentation, expectations, and the basic budget message. And then they would already have a week to look at, to get the information, then they have 2 more days, we come back on a Wednesday, a non-council, so that would be May 20th.
No.
Nope,
Got
13th.
the wrong dates.
I was just,
So-
isn't it May 4th?
May 4th.
Yes.
May 4th would be the budget training that I give every year, just to remind the budget committee what their duties are, et cetera, et cetera. And then Nathan would deliver the budget message and the proposed budget on May 4th.
Okay.
And then we would meet again on May 11th for department presentations and deliberations and approval of the proposed budget if we can get there. If not, then we would go to May 13th, which is a Wednesday, instead of waiting a whole week for that third meeting. That would give me, because then we go to council on June 3rd for adoption. That would give me more time to get that approved budget together for the adoption. Then if I had to wait until the 18th, if we needed that extra day.
So thank you for correcting me, Ann. But the point is that instead of that last Monday, the third Monday, we shift it to the Wednesday.
I'm not available the 13th. What were the tentative dates again? The 4th?
11th and 13th,
4th,
which
11th,
is
13th.
now a non-issue.
4th, 11th, and the 13th.
So if we meet on the 4th, then we meet the 11th. I mean, last year we did get it done, those 2 meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very possible, it's just, I think we will get it done, I think we're awesome. But if we didn't, it's rolling to that 13th rather than doing to the next Monday is the difference. Am I correct? Okay.
I'm good with it.
Works for me.
You're not going to be here on the 13th?
No, I'm not available. I've got Rose Festival Parade planning on the 13th.
I think Virgil
Would you
was
be
fine.
available on the 11th?
On the 11th, I'm available.
Okay.
Parade meetings are that Wednesday, and it's the mega parade, and it's the last one before.
That just puts pressure on you guys to approve the budget too.
Or
attend the
Ian
Rose-
to get any questions he has.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem doing that on the 11th. Maybe we'll get it done. Just,
Well, Troutdale is something similar where they meet on Monday and Wednesday if necessary, I think.
I mean, yeah. Every Wednesday that month.
If you're okay with it, then we will, well, it may not be that Wednesday, that's.
I understand.
just the backup.
Maybe the 4th, the 11th, and the what?
Possible 13th.
Possible
Possibly.
13th.
Yeah.
So that,
13th is the break glass in case of.
An emergency.
yeah,
Basically.
yeah. So if you're all good with that, then we'll
That's fine.
advertise it that way. And thank you very much for considering that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. That was all on that.
That's all on that? Did you want to touch base on item number 3 real quick, or?
I'll touch base really quickly. I had originally intended to do more of a review of what we're working on, and then, you know, kind of, because we do need to go over what we, you know, planned from last year, as well as the things that we're working on. However, after internally we had a pre-meeting, went through the presentation we gave you tonight, I decided it'd probably be best to hold off on that. But I did want to just bring it up and get it fresh in your mind here, the annual plan review, which we'll be putting on a work session in the near future to go over.
Trying to mix it small. I also did email it to everybody.
Which is fine. Well, thank you. What I want to do is I'm going to bring to you accomplishments we've done last year, and I'm also going to try to, the best we can, to sort of, break those out between the ones that we're accomplishing just because we're moving, or things that we're accomplishing because we had to accomplish them because they weren't done in the past. So it's not like 100% clear.
That actually would be nice.
But to kind of show you things that were not being done, or, for example, well 10 wasn't being done. Lots of other things. So some of those public works projects are just very easy. CDBG money been sitting for years and nothing's done, now it's got done. Well, the two that are current. Other things are a little more difficult. Obviously audit, very simple, not done. But a lot of changes, I mean, things that weren't done, well, we'll talk more about it, but I'm trying to distinguish the best I can between those two things. Also want to talk about our goals and want to really look at like the big goals, and my focus is going to be things that we need to get done, that we're working on. And then there's a few things that we're trying to move forward on, kind of the top ones like fire district, those types of things. So, of course, the budget, and depending how the budget goes and what we decide to do with the sheriff's contract and so forth, it's going to be a lot of work, So anyway, I just want to bring that goal, just kind of bring it back to your minds for a little bit in advance, and then we'll be putting it back on a work session again. I'll bring some accomplishments and tell you where we're going. So. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I really wanted.
That's all you wanted? Okay.
For tonight, yes. I figured by now we'd probably be wanting to leave, so.
I love this, it's great.
Yeah.
Painful but needed. In regards to some of the stuff that we talked about in the fantastic item number 2, the general fund review, what are the plans as far as coming back and discussing next steps or possible next steps? What's your idea for coming back? I mean, this isn't just a message and let it go situation. There's obviously some action that's going to be needed at some point.
Right, so a couple of things. Thank you for asking. So number one, we can absolutely work on getting some revenue ideas together for you. Absolutely. It sounds like you'd probably like to have those even before the budget, so I'll work on that.
If possible.
Yeah, if possible. So we'll work on that. I'll work on that. The other part of this really is kind of to give you an update on where we're at. So as we go into the budget season and the budget cycle, you'll have this information in advance. So, because we'll be, I don't know that Ann will give that whole presentation, but she'll do something, abbreviated version or some type of alteration of that to present, just like we did last year to the budget committee. So they're better understanding of where we're at financially and why we're proposing what we're proposing.
Okay.
So other than that, I don't know. I mean, there is an article that came out that was put together. It was written, actually, this I wrote the one before, but the most current one was written more by our consultant applications and put together a chart, but that helps give, really, it went out to all their residents and showing that public safety costs. It's slightly different because I didn't include the cash balance. I just had coming in, going out for expenditures on just public safety, but still it's a $2.4 million gap. I also wanted to, if I may just speak really quickly about the LGIP.
Oh, the interest?
Yeah. So, it's okay. Okay, so I want to know that one of the things Ann's doing is also going through all our funds. And one of the reasons that she had you switch the resolution we did last time was to get things straight. But part of that is because she discovered that the interest that should have been collected for the city was going to the URA. So she was able to pull that interest out. I think it was what, 60?
Oh, no, it was hundreds of thousands.
It was like 300,000, yeah.
Over, what, 23, 24, 25. part of 26.
Yeah. She went back 3 years.
A little over 3 years.
Found at least $300,000, I think. That was owed to the general fund rather than it was being paid in the URA. Just like I said, when I first got here, the city was subsidizing the URA, the project, or the fork. They were paying all of the works that we're doing work down there, all of our service contracts, all of our equipment was all being purchased out of city money. And so that was not how it should be. So I did change that immediately when I got here, especially that was mostly John, affected by John's department. But we changed that, and then Ann found additional money. So as she goes through, she's getting things cleaned up, getting things correct as, as far as we can do that. So thank you, Ann. I just wanted to highlight that.
Consolidating those two funds together will get any further errors happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Hiram's department got more money, which was great. So they're all important, but that's it. Thank you. I'm just trying to be really transparent about things.
And we appreciate it, because we all knew we were in a tough spot and things were not looking great, but I think we have to know what we're really dealing with in order to work together to come up with solutions for it.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate it.
Not great, nobody's jumping up and down about it,
But there is no, the state that's jumping up and down going, we're rolling in cash.
right,
Yeah.
right.
They all have unique problems. It's funny to look at them and go, oh, gee, you guys are screwed in this way. We're screwed in this way, so.
Yeah, the amount of, at the last mayor's conference that I went to, the amount of mayors that were bemoaning the fact that they had to pay for new wastewater treatment plants. It was mentioned earlier tonight, and I had to giggle that, at least we're contracting that out. It's,
Well,
it is the physical manifestation of a money pit.
yeah, but until Gresham has managed to figure out that they needed to do something and raise our rates.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much it's trapped.
But raising rates is one thing, building a new one.
Building new ones.
Yeah, and I remember at least 4 within one afternoon that was in the exact same boat of having to build a new wastewater treatment plant. Like, I'm very thankful we don't have to do that.
Well, my off time, I can tell you some stories.
But yeah, you're right. None of us are in a good position. I think there is no one magic pill. It's going to be a matter of a little bit here, a little bit there, maybe one bigger one, but we are going to have the fun task of trying to decide which path is best. And none of them are easy.
They're not. I will say it again, but if we can get to a point where we're taking the bumps to get to where we need to be, and we can go easier in the future, it will get us to a sustainable place, and we can move forward. So,
Sure.
yeah, like PGE did. I mean, I don't know, I don't pretend to know what their operations are, but claim to them, they got that 40% bump, and then they can go. And I don't know, and I have no idea the operation. I'm just.
Centers,
Yeah.
data centers.
Well, there's a bill out there that's being pushed to eliminate the development of new data centers.
I have a feeling that Google's got enough money to make that go away. And Amazon, and Microsoft, and Meta, and all the other ones that you don't even know about.
Yeah. I just know it's floating out
That's
there.
why I was laughing at the sales tax, because Wood Village did float a sales tax and was told by Lowe's that there would be a crater where Wood Village used to be if they decided to pursue it. We have millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and you have this. And Wood Village said, maybe a sales tax isn't such a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you do a sales tax, it's gotta be all the neighboring communities and.
Yeah, it has to be
yeah.
regional, not
Yeah.
citywide.
Born a native Oregonian, nope, never, as long as I'm alive, no sales tax.
Well, we said that about pumping our own gas, and look where we are.
No, I was pro pumping.
Yeah, I was not.
I lived in California just long enough to go, hey, this is pretty cool.
I was not, because I lost 5 gas caps over a bunch of years driving to and from Seattle, because I would never remember to put it back. Back before they were attached.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That's all you have? I think that's it. I know we had some people come in. Sorry, we're not having a regular session tonight. It's all just a one big financial work session. But, you know, you missed a fun riveting conversation. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order?
I say let's motion to adjourn.
Oh, we're gonna adjourn right now. Boom, baby. Good timing.
Where's back?
We are, real quick,
I always do that.
Don't sit down.
I've done that before in the